This is my 2022 Yamaha MT-09. It's a motorcycle that I've wanted for such a long time, and I finally managed to get hold of one. Welcome to our ride review of this awesome motorcycle. Now, first and foremost, as always, let's talk about the looks of this bike, because it's a little bit controversial. There are lots of people that don't appreciate the look of this bike, and to be honest with you, no, to me it's not the prettiest motorcycle in the world. The front end, it's kind of got a face that only its mother could love, but there are some extras that the previous owners have put on the bike, like this little windshield here. They did have a couple of extra bits on the sides here, but one of them broke off, so I've taken off both sides until I've got a replacement. But I mean, things like that, they do help the look of the bike somewhat, but all in all, you guys, to be honest with you, I really don't have too many complaints about the looks of this motorcycle. No, it's not the prettiest bike in the world, but what it is, it's light, it's fast, and it's ridiculously torquey. And to be honest with you, that's all I care about, really. Looks-wise, yeah, sure, that's great for showing a bike off to somebody else, but when it comes to actually riding the motorcycle, well, the experience side of things is going to be far more important than the way the bike looks, don't you think? Now, this bike has got an aftermarket exhaust system. I believe it's a full system, because the stock MT-09 has like a little box underneath and a little spout that comes out here, so it's kind of like a hidden exhaust, which again, I don't really like the look of personally, but yeah, one of the previous owners, I think is a whole new system is what they've installed here. There's a couple of the mods as well. They've got some shortened little levers here on the handlebars, which I know some people don't like the shortened levers. I haven't had too many issues with them personally. So yeah, there have been a few bits and pieces that have been adjusted or modified on the bike, but for the most part, this bike is very, very similar to the experience that I had in 2024 last year on the 2023 Yamaha MT-09, and to be honest with you, this experience is even better. Alright, but now it's time to have a little listen to the soundtrack of this bike. It sounds really nice with this aftermarket exhaust. I mean, Lextech, I think I've heard of them before, but this is the first time I've actually ever ran a motorcycle with that exhaust system. But yeah, quite a nice sound, and if you've seen any of our kind of teaser videos on this bike, then you'll have a rough idea of what this bike sounds like. But here we go. So what I mean, it does sound a hell of a lot better than the stock MT-09 that we had to go on last year, but that sounds nice, don't you think? And it has a removable baffle, this exhaust system, so if I weren't even allowed a bike, well, it wouldn't be too difficult removing the baffle. But to be honest with you, it's plenty loud enough as it is for my taste. I don't need a super loud motorcycle, and to be honest, the only real difference that it's going to make to the sound is it's just going to give it a deeper bellow in the lower RPMs, so it wouldn't change all that much, to be honest with you. Alright, but let's go ahead and talk about some ergonomics here, you guys, because this bike is insanely comfortable. It's perhaps the comfiest naked I think I've ever ridden. I'm trying to think like what other nakeds could be as comfortable. I mean, maybe the Gixxer Style's pretty nice. The GSX 8S is nice as well. But this is a nice place to be, you guys. It's got a slight lean forward to the handlebars, a wide grip. Sorry, that's so addictive, that. Yeah, it's not too tall either. The seat height isn't too bad. I'm 5'11". Reach of the handlebars is easy. It is quite a chilled out riding position in a lot of ways. Yeah, it's a really nice place to be. The seat is it's got a little bit of give. It's not the nicest seat I've ever sat my butt on, but again, not too bad. Pretty nice place to be. I think over a longer journey, I don't think you'd have too many problems with this bike. You might have to take a rest every once in a while, maybe every like hour and a half or so. But yeah, a slight lean forward, not very sporty at all. A pretty neutral riding position for the most part. A very stereotypical naked riding position. And I mean, to be honest with you, like, this bike on the face of it, it might seem quite boring. All right, like, okay, it's a 900cc triple. It's got pretty basic ergonomics. Doesn't really look that nice. The screen is quite dim as well. I mean, you know, on the face of it, this bike doesn't really have a lot going for it. But where this bike shines is in the riding experience. As I mentioned in the intro, this bike's riding experience is second to none, you guys. It's friggin' insane. Like, I bought my ZH2 back in 2021 because of that insane riding experience, and in so many ways this bike is just as good as, if not better than, the ZH2. And the fact that this bike as well, even with the wheelie control turned on, will allow you to pull some pretty fat wheelies. If you're happy chasing them out, then yeah, this bike's pretty good at doing wheelies. If you turn off the wheelie control though, this bike does become quite a challenge. It's like a game of Buckaroo if you turn off the wheelie control on this bike. That's just how hooligan-like this bike is. And if you want that hooligan-like experience, I mean, there aren't really that many bikes out there that can do it as good as the MT-09. Alright guys, before we jump into some pretty insane 0 to 60s, well, any bike derivative from Yamaha with this engine, it's got so much potential for just crazy straight line speeds. But anyway, yeah, before we get into that, let's talk some specs. So this is the 2022 Yamaha MT-09. It's not the SP variant, it's just the base model MT-09. It's running an 889cc inline 3-cylinder engine, which is producing just over 117 horsepower at the crank and 93 newton meters of torque, all whilst weighing in 189 kilograms wet. Now, power, torque, that doesn't sound all that impressive, does it? 117, nearly 120 horsepower at the crank, 93 newton meters of torque. That torque number is where this motorcycle is just on another level, because you've got that insane amount of torque at 189 kilograms wet, and this bike probably is even a little bit lighter because of that newer exhaust system. Honestly, Yamaha, they've made a magical bike here with this. They've made a motorcycle that, even though on the face of it, again, it might not seem like it's got crazy specs, because it's so lightweight. And honestly, man, this bike feels incredibly light. You can throw this bike around no end. It absolutely loves it. But the power to weight ratio on this bike is probably one of the best right now, to be honest with you. It's insane what Yamaha have been able to do here with this bike. Alright, but let's go ahead and do some 0 to 60 runs here. I think this bike, I mean, it can definitely do a 3-second 0 to 60 because I've actually done that before on the XSR 900 GP. Same engine as a Super Sport chassis. It's a little bit easier to keep the front end down than on this bike, but we'll see how we get on. I mean, I might have to turn the wheelie control up a level, but let's just do it as is, and let's see how we do here. But yeah, I think 3-second 0 to 60, I think is certainly doable on this bike. All right, here we go. See what I mean? Oh no! Oh, the Insta360 is failing me again today. So I am gonna actually turn up the wheelie control here. At the moment it is on level 1. Oh, it is a bit frustrating using this wheel system. Okay, so lift is on setting 1. You can turn it off entirely. Come on. No. Right, thank you. So you can turn it off entirely. You've got level 1 or level 2 or level 3. Let's try level 2. No. Okay. We'll go through the dashboard controls in a little bit, you guys, because it's a little bit finicky, this bike, but it does have a lot of options when it comes to tuning the bike how you like it. All right, here we go. Oh, this bike can definitely get up to 60 mile an hour in first gear. Oh, it just wants to wheelie all day, man. All right, let's try wheelie control level 3. All right, here we go. Come on, bike. Ah. Oh. Even with the wheelie control on level 3, man, this bike just like, God, it lets you pick up the front wheels so easily. Oh, I mean, like, that's hella fun for riding experience, but not that great if you're trying to do 0 to 60s. Oh dear. You go, girl. Warm day today, you guys. And nearly 30 degrees. But okay, so those 0 to 60 runs right there are definitely not the best that a bike with this engine can do, right? Like I said, on the XSR 900 GP, I was able to get a 2.9 0 to 60, and if anything, even then, it probably could have done a even better 0 to 60. I mean, I'm not the best when it comes to 0 to 60 runs, you guys. I'm not a drag racer or anything like that, so my times are usually about 0.1, 0.2, sometimes 0.3 seconds off what the on paper 0 to 60 should be. But it should give you a decent idea of real world expectations, right? Because most of us aren't drag racers. You know what I mean? Most riders are not going to be getting off the line anywhere near as quickly as the spec sheet would imply. So yeah, it'll give you guys a pretty good idea of what you can actually do in the real world from, you know, an average rider's perspective. But I know for a fact this bike can do, or potentially can do, a 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. Quarter mile, I mean, it's got to be around about 10 seconds. I can't remember what the quarter mile time was for this bike when I did the ride review last year on the 2023 bike. But it's got to be around about 10 seconds, maybe even under 10 seconds. This bike is crazy quick, man. Crazy quick. And it's an inline triple, not even 900cc, red lines at under 11,000 RPM. Yeah, that's the thing, you guys. On the face of it, like I keep saying, this bike does not seem all that impressive. Yet when you actually come to ride it, you'll understand what I mean. It's insane, you guys. It's crazy. What an awesome bike this is. Anyway, let's have a little look at the dashboard, because last year we didn't really have much of an opportunity to have a look at the dashboard properly, but this bike can actually do quite a lot of stuff from stock, right? So you've got this mode button here, which allows you to swap between the drive mode and the traction control mode. So M, and now I thought originally that meant like mild or medium or something like that, but it doesn't. You can go from a 1, so you got 1, 2, and M, which means manual, right? And then if you hit mode against the drive mode, you can change different drive modes, so you got 1 to 4. Personally, number 1 is where you want to be. That's where this bike is making 100% power. The other modes, we'll try them out on the ride today, but last year when I was test riding this bike for the first time, I wasn't all that impressed with the other drive modes, to be honest with you. It does seem to really hit the power significantly, but it's nice that you've got that option, all right? If this is your first big bike, for example, then it's great to have those different power modes there, so you can gradually get yourself up to the full power mode, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so that's about all you have here with these buttons on this side, with the mode and the up-down buttons here. Most of the configuration is actually with this wheel. So first of all, right, if you tap it, you can actually select these bits here, and you can actually change them. So I've got engine temperature here, I've got ambient temperature, you've got MPG, average MPG, the trip computer 1, trip computer 2, the odometer 18,500 miles, the trip time, fuel consumption, and fuel gauge. And you can adjust both of them with all of those different settings, which is pretty neat. You can customize this display in quite a lot of different ways, right? But if we go down to the cog here and then we push in, this is where it gets a bit finicky, because if you push in, a lot of the times it thinks that you're trying to select up, all right? But then you've got the in here display settings, you've got a lap time counter, the tacho color. I mean, I don't know what that does actually. Let's turn that off. Oh no, so okay, I know what that does. So as the rev meter is going up, it changes color. I actually want to keep that on because I like that. All right, manual TCS settings. So this is where you adjust the manual mode, the manual drive mode. So you've got, or the manual traction control mode, shall we say. So you've got your traction control here, which you've got, I believe, is it like 3 or 4 different modes? 1, 2, 3. So you've got 3 different traction control levels. This one, SCS, I believe, off the top of my head, is traction control whilst you're on a bend. All right, so quite important. But if you want to do power slides and things like that, well, you want that off, to be honest. And then, of course, we've got the lift here, which is... Oh, come on. Come on. There we go. Which you've got the different levels here. Let's leave it on level 1 for the time being. No, come on. There we go. So well, let's turn the engine off for now. Vehicle settings, BC setting, QS settings, quick shifter settings. So you've got up, down, quick shifter. It's quite cool how on most bikes you can either turn the quick shifter off or on, but on this bike you can actually adjust it whether or not you want the quick shifter just to go up, or if you want it to go both ways, or if you just want it to go down. Pretty neat. There's loads and loads of functionality on this bike, you guys. It's actually more granular than I ever expected it to be. It's just this control wheel here that's a little bit annoying. So yeah, you've got the shift indicator, maintenance, unit brightness. I mean, let's have a look at brightness. Yeah, so it's maximum brightness already. Clock and reset. Yeah, man, loads and loads of settings on this bike, which when we did our review last year, I had no idea about. It's friggin' insane. But anyway, let's get this bike moving again, because it's got 108 degrees C temperature. All right, let's get moving, because it is quite warm today, you guys. It's not quite 30 degrees C, but it's getting up there. Oh. This bike is so fun. It's really funny because the other day I was reading an article about the new Triumph Speed Triple 1200 RS, and how the reviewer, or the person that was writing the piece, they were like, this is the ultimate hooligan bike for non-hooligans, because the wheelie control will allow you to pick up the front wheel at will, pretty much, but it won't let you flip the bike around. It won't let you roll it over. And like, when I read that, I thought, yeah, that's really cool. More naked should be doing that. But this was the original bike to start allowing you to pull wheelies, even though you're not you're not someone who really enjoys pulling wheelies, or you're not someone who's confident at pulling wheelies. And the thing is, when you turn off the wheelie control, this bike is crazy. It's uncontrollable. In so many ways, it is very uncontrollable. You need the wheelie control on this bike, in all honesty, you guys. I don't know, if you got more skill with the throttle, with the clutch, maybe you can turn it off and control it fairly well, but no, for me, I feel much more confident with this bike with the wheelie control on. Alright, or the lift control, should I say. But yeah, this was one of the original bikes that was tuned so it would allow you to pick up the front wheel and hold a fat wheelie, and the bike won't loop itself. Now, I have seen in forums where there are a few riders who have mentioned that this bike, you can flip it even with the wheelie control turned on, and it's almost like as if the momentum of the bike kicking you upwards, you know, kicking the front wheel upwards, the momentum of the bike, it kind of overrides the wheelie control. When you have the wheelie control on, you'll get the little SC, little light that's coming up here when the front wheel is off the ground. So I think that's the way to treat this bike, that even with the wheelie control on, it will allow you to wheelie, and it will allow you to wheelie in a very controlled fashion, and it will allow you to drop the front wheel down in a very controlled fashion as well. But it's not going to save your bacon if you just 100% throttle it in first gear. Potentially it will throw you off the back. All right, it will loop you. So it's just something to keep in mind here, you guys. But the fact that Yamaha have built in this function into this bike where you can wheelie it even as a novice and be quite comfortable, quite confident doing it, it's so nice to be able to do. And I've been practicing wheelies quite a lot on the Triumph Daytona that we've got and my Yamaha FZ6. And the FZ6, man, that's such a great wheelie bike, because especially as a beginner, because it's got plenty of power to pick up the front wheel and plenty of power as well to loop the bike around if you're not careful. But if you've got a little bit of momentum riding forward, honestly, like even at 90, 100% throttle, you're going to have a very, very difficult time looping that bike. So it's very confidence inspiring. I've nearly looped it a couple of times, I think, but I've gotten used to picking up the front wheel. And the thing is, on the FZ6 and on the MT-09 here with the wheelie control on, you only have to pop it a little bit, and then everything else you can control with the throttle. You control the wheel going up and down like that with the throttle. That's one of the reasons why I've got the quick shifter mod for the FZ6, because I want to be able to change gears as I'm pulling the wheelie. Now, you can do it with a manual clutch, but it's a little bit easier with a quick shifter, I think. And holding up that front wheel is going to be a little bit easier with the quick shifter, because at the moment all I can do is keep it up in first gear, and then I run out of RPMs eventually. But I mean, the great thing about that bike is that it's got quite a lot of RPMs to play with anyway. 15,000 RPM is where it redlines, so plenty of RPMs to play with. And to pop the wheelie, you only really need to be 6,000 RPM to get the front wheel off the ground. So really good wheelie bike. This bike with the wheelie control is a fantastic wheelie bike, but with the wheelie control turned off, it's very, very difficult to control. All right, maybe second gear wheelies would be easier to do with this bike with the wheelie control off. But that's the thing, you guys, as far as I'm concerned, with this bike you don't need to turn off the wheelie control. You don't need to, because it will help you an awful lot with the controllability of this bike. Because even if you've got quite a high amount of throttle, it will only pick up the front wheel ever so much. Then you've got to open the throttle even more to override it, and that's what will let you pick up the front wheel even more. So yeah, you don't need to turn off the wheelie control on this bike to have an amazing time. Same with the MT-10 as well, I believe. Very similar kind of wheelie tuning setup. You don't have to fiddle around with that if you want to be able to pull wheelies, and you want to be able to do them not innocently, but you want to be able to do them where the bike will assist you an awful lot. Yeah, these are great bikes, man. Great bikes for wheeling. However, I say that, but the 2023 MT-09, now I know that I wasn't all that familiar with the granularity of the controls of the bike back then, so I'm not sure if maybe it had an even higher setting for wheelie control, but it would only allow me to pick up the front wheel maybe an inch or two off the ground. So not a lot compared to this bike, where even in the highest wheelie control mode, you can still pick up the front end a lot, and it won't dump it back down again. So I don't know, maybe that bike is tuned slightly differently to this in terms of the wheelie control, or maybe it was just some extra settings here or some different tuning on the wheelie control itself. But I have heard on the 2024 bike, so the one that's the facelift model, I heard that one isn't quite as friendly to hooligan-like behavior. I heard it's a little bit more restrictive, even though it looks nicer. It's got a much nicer shape to it, and all in all, I think it's a prettier bike and updated. You know, it's a much more modern look for the MT-09. Apparently, the things under the hood, so to speak, are not quite the same as the 2021 or the 2022 model MT-09s, which is a little bit disappointing if that's true. I've not had the opportunity to ride a 2024 MT-09 yet, so we'll see. Maybe at some point or other I'll get the opportunity to, and I'll be able to confirm or deny those rumors. But all I can say is that the 2021, 2022 MT-09 is buckets of fun, you guys. It's one of the most fun riding experiences I think I've ever had on a bike. I say that a lot, but I honestly think that this might top the charts. It's between this, the MT-10, and the ZH2. Those are my top 3 riding experience motorcycles of all time. The ZH2 is friggin' insane, hell of a lot of fun, and you know, again, plenty of torque. It's got that supercharger flutter. ZH2 is an elite level bike. It's absolutely insane and very hooligan-like, and I mean, just I can't tell you how amazing a ZH2 is. The ZH2 SE is even better though. Now, it might not sound it, because a lot of the features that you get on the regular H2 you also get on the SE, but with that electronically controlled suspension, it's got better tuning for wheelie control. Whereas on my bike it would dump the front wheel down on the ground, on the SE it will allow you to pick up the front wheel, and in a very similar fashion to this, it will allow you to control the front wheel coming up and down. That's the experience that I had when I test rode one back in 2021. And before I actually ended up buying it. But at the time, I couldn't afford to buy an SE. I seriously considered replacing my existing H2 with an SE, but yeah, in the end I just decided to get this, because I knew what I was getting myself into with this bike, and this bike is freaking insane. It's an awesome bike. So yeah, I mean, one thing we haven't spoken about yet is price. Now this bike, because it's a fairly high mileage bike, 2022, 19,000 miles. That's a lot of mileage, you guys. That's double the average mileage for a bike of its age. 2022, 19,000 miles. It's a lot of mileage, but I was able to pick this bike up for less than $6,000. Brand spanking new, these bikes are going for, I think, $9,000, which is one hell of a bargain for so much bike here. But these 2021, 2022, 2023 bikes, for me, are the best ones. The best, at least according to from what I've heard anyway, rumors wise. That might not be the case. You guys let me know down in the comment section below if you've ridden a 2021, 2022 bike and the 2024, 2025 one. Let me know if those rumors are true. But price wise, there's a lot of these going for 5, 6, 7 grand all day long with varying amounts of mileage. To be honest with you, if you buy anything, any of them from 2021 onwards, no matter what the mileage is, it's still going to be very reliable. I'm not worried about the mileage on this bike whatsoever. I'm not going to do anywhere near as much mileage as the previous owners did. So again, that's something that I don't really need to worry about. But it's got plenty of life left in it, this bike, honestly. All right, but let's have one last listen to the soundtrack. Here we go. Woo! This bike's awesome. This bike sounds so sick, you guys. I honestly, oh dear, come on, there we go. I honestly can't give this bike my seal of approval enough. It's such a wicked bike in so many ways. Honestly, in so many ways, it's the perfect motorcycle for street riding, for overall riding experience. You cannot get any better than the Yamaha MT-09. But thank you ever so much for joining us on our ride review today. If you've enjoyed it, or maybe it's convinced you to buy one of these bikes, then go ahead, leave that like, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell down there. I'd really appreciate it. especially if you don't want to miss any more videos on this awesome motorcycle. Make sure you go ahead and do that for me. And yeah, don't forget to drop us a comment. But thanks again, everyone. You take care, you ride safe. We'll catch you all in the next video. Have a good one.